Hello from the Melee workshop. Today we have a special guest we've invited, namely a transmission rebuilder, my friend Olaf. Olaf, today we're doing a transmission swap on a Porsche, an 8-speed transmission. Is there anything to say about this transmission?
That's a TR80. Ice and water. There are relatively few problems with this transmission as long as the service intervals are maintained. Oil change intervals, sometimes there are issues in the torque converter area, shuddering, torque converter lockup, clutch failure, but with regular service there are virtually no problems.
That's the key point about regular service. The service on this transmission must be performed. At what interval?
About 70,000.
70,000 or every 3 years, because by then the additives are depleted. We've gathered all this information for you, and of course you can find it on our homepage where you can look it up, because manufacturers are of course required to provide this information, but it's not always easy to find. That's why we've compiled it all together. Yes, Olaf, we have the kit here. We have all the parts we actually need for this service. Oil pan gasket, hydraulic filter, the oil pan bolts, magnets, drain plugs, exactly, the gasket. And of course the oil with the correct specification. Well, then I'd say let's just get started.
All right, now let's drain the oil first. We'll take out the oil drain plug here. As you can see, the oil is coming out very slowly now. Not all of it will drain out yet because the oil dipstick tube is still in place. Then we take a 5mm Allen key, unscrew the tube carefully. Now we put the oil drain plug back in so it doesn't drip all over us. And loosen the oil pan. For the last 2 screws before you remove the pan, you should get someone to hold the pan from above. There's still a lot of oil inside that doesn't drain out through the plug, and it will slosh out the back. And then you'll have it all over the floor.
All right, I am allowed to lend a helping hand, if that is all right with you. If I get dirty now, then...
And then I'll take over right away.
Does that make a difference? Lending a hand. Take a deep breath.
Please be very careful and kindly step aside from the immediate area. All right, thank you for your cooperation.
Yeah, you can see there's still quite a lot of oil in there. Now a whole lot of oil is also running out of the filter.
Very nice. All right, move the oil cup back. Here we have the oil pan with the gasket, the magnets. As you can see, we have no wear at all. This transmission has been serviced regularly every 70,000. Next, we'll replace the hydraulic filter. I've already loosened the 4 screws on the filter for this. You have to be a bit careful here too, because a lot of oil will come out again when you remove it. So press the filter up a little so it actually comes out, and carefully remove it. And here, unfortunately, we've built the front axle over it. It's important now that the O-ring, it is no longer up here in the housing. It's down here now. Please make sure not to install the new filter with a second O-ring. So the oil has been drained, the old filter is out. Now we take the new filter, moisten the gasket a bit with oil, and press the filter into the housing. All right, we've put the filter in place. The bolts are tightened to 8 mm. So now we've prepared the oil pan for installation, meaning the magnets and a new gasket with new sleeves. And of course the bolts. Now we position the oil pan. First with 2 bolts. And please make sure that the gasket doesn't slip or slide down. Otherwise all the oil will leak out. So for now we've attached the oil pan with 2 bolts. Now we tighten the oil pan bolts. They are tightened to 8 Newton meters in a crisscross pattern. Now we will carefully remove the engine oil drain plug once again. And it is very important, please do not forget to include the tube for checking the oil level. That is also only tightened by hand, not with force since it's made of plastic. Here we have an adapter set for filling the transmission. Now we'll pick out the right one. Fits. Now you will carefully screw it in until it completely stops turning. Now, we carefully attach the pump, then gently open the valve, and subsequently fill the transmission with precisely 6 liters of fresh oil.
Now we check the correct oil level, which of course we do with the engine running. There's something you need to pay attention to here because the order matters. This vehicle actually has an additional oil pump for the start-stop function. And to bleed it, you have to follow a certain procedure. After starting the vehicle, you need to shift through the gears for 10 seconds, from reverse gear to normal mode to continuous mode, and then into neutral. In neutral, you then rev the engine up to 2000 RPM and hold it there for about 60 seconds. And then you finish in park. Only then is the proper leveling and complete activation of the pump properly and fully ensured.
All right, now we need to check the transmission fluid. For that, the very first thing we need to do is connect a tester, go into the parameters, and check the transmission oil temperature. Filling is done when the temperature is between 35 and 45 degrees. The optimal oil temperature is 40 degrees. And then we have the correct oil level. We're currently at 30 degrees oil temperature, which means we'll let it warm up to 40 degrees and then fill it, the transmission that is. Continue adding oil. So we've reached 40 degrees. Let's take a look at it. All right, nothing is coming out. That means we still need to add some more. We're going to overfill the transmission a little now. Now let's carefully check it once again. As you can see, it's running. And it's about to start dripping. Now we have achieved the absolutely correct level. As you can clearly see, it's steadily dripping. Thank you so much, John.
So, and now we've done it. The service is complete. Pretty straightforward, in my opinion. Of course, it's always similar to the other transmissions. We've shown this many times. It's always the same procedure, so to speak. The only tricky part was unlocking the start-stop function. The venting.
The venting cycle is simply the specification from VW, Audi, and Porsche that it should be done this way to really get the last bit of air out of the system so you can check the correct oil level afterwards.
So, what's the takeaway? Servicing a transmission just makes sense. It extends its lifespan. And of course, it also maintains its function and comfort.
Especially the comfort.
Exactly. As we mentioned, that the service interval for this transmission was at 70,000 kilometers.
And you really notice it, an oil change. Sometimes it shifts more smoothly.
Exactly. And just like you said at the beginning, you said it. 80% of all malfunctions or actual transmission failures are due to insufficient transmission fluid and poor maintenance.
That's right.
Okay. We hope we were able to show you that. See you next time.